Hey guys, Vern. Today we are at my new place in Vlorë, Albania, and I'm going to give you 5 tips of how to make your winter traveling a little easier. Let's check it out.
Hey, Vern.
All right, so this is where I'm staying. It's just a small studio. I've got a little desk set up that I do my little vlogging at. Got a little couch, little kitchenette area. And then there's also a little bathroom. Now my requirement is that everything has to have a washing machine. It's got the typical European toilet with the wash your bits station, a little sink area, and a shower. Now I've noticed most of these places do not use shower curtains. And I don't kind of like that so much because when you get done, the floor is wet for quite a while. So if you need to go use the commode, you're going to walk in water, whether you're using your slippers or whatever. So I'm not a huge fan of that. So I'll show you the bedroom. So we'll go back here. Bum, 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 bum. Here is the bedroom. It's a pretty good sized bedroom. It's got a little opening to the outside there with a patio, which is kind of nice. It's been very cold, so it's not something that I've been able to really use. And it's got this huge walk-in closet type deal. Big doors. It's probably 10 foot tall. And then it's got a dresser. So plenty of storage. That's one thing nice about this place. If you need storage, it's got the storage set up. So yeah, it's a good price. I'll show you the little patio here. Got a little place to sit. So there you go. It's cold today. It's probably high 30s, low 40s. It's really cold, so I'm gonna get back in here. All right, so I'm gonna give you my tips. So my first tip is about heat. A very important thing to think about. When you get to these Airbnbs, a lot of times they're vacant. You're in the off season, you're traveling during the winter, and not a lot of people are in these buildings. So you're gonna get to them and they're gonna feel like an ice box. Where I'm staying in Albania, the temperatures have dropped down to the low 20s at night, and they hover between 40s and very low 50s, sometimes a mid 50 during the day. So it's pretty cold. Now, I've noticed when I've looked at these buildings, there's no insulation in the walls. Oftentimes it's just concrete blocks in these apartment buildings. So there really isn't any insulation. So when you get here, it's going to take, I estimate, 3 days to heat up the walls, to heat up all the tiles, to get everything to where it's holding a constant temperature that you're accustomed to. And then the heater will just have to go on a little bit. So this is the heater in my apartment. And the hottest it will go will be 30, I believe that's Celsius, 30 Celsius. Now, they run heat pumps, and they're working pretty hard to keep warm in the wintertime. So what I've done is I went to town and I bought this little dude. And this is about 17 bucks. And this little heater was a lifesaver. Between the wall heater and this heater, it's kept me warm. Now, oftentimes the heaters that are in the walls don't circulate enough air into the room. So if you're in a room that has no heat going directly into it, it's going to take a long time for the heat to kind of circulate around the room and get to where you're at to warm up all the surfaces. So having an external heater is well worth any money that you would spend if you're going to stay for 2 weeks or more. So the other thing is, when you go to these places, make sure you request an extra blanket if they don't have one already. And bring yourself a hoodie that you can put over your head. When I've come here the first night, the second night, and the third night, I've had to sleep in my hoodie and put the extra blankets over the top of my head to stay warm from breathing. It just is that cold, and it takes that long for these rooms to heat up. And after the third day, it's just normal. Everything's back to normal. So heat is a real important thing to consider. And if you come here and you don't have an extra blanket, you can't hide under the bed, then you're going to be extremely uncomfortable, okay? But if you have an extra little heater, you can direct it to where you're at, where you're sitting, where you're sleeping, and that will also help to keep you warm. Okay, so heat is a really important thing. And just to think about a couple extra things before you finish moving in or finalizing getting your keys and stuff. Make sure there's enough bedding, okay? And bring an extra heater. In some of these places, they're kind of thrifty, so they probably aren't going to have an extra heater. You will have to provide that, okay? So the next thing I want to touch on is health. When you're traveling on the road, your health is really important. Now, what I often do is I eat 1 apple a day and oftentimes 1 orange a day. And that has helped me from getting colds, and it's really helped me to stay somewhat healthy. So I'm going to show you my little setup here. So you can see I always try to have some fruit on hand. Got my oranges, got my apples. Now the other thing is, I recommend buying some soup packets. You can buy these, they're really cheap. They're less than a US dollar, okay? And you can make some soup in a pot that will usually give you 3 to 4 meals. So if you're sick, you always have some soup, and having some crackers is a great idea, okay? Now I also recommend whatever you use when you're normally sick, if you have Vicks, if you have Advil or ibuprofen, whatever you use, keep it on hand. Always travel with that. So if you're sick and you feel terrible, you're not running out trying to get medicine. You can just reach in, grab your stuff, and just lay low, have some soup, eat some fruit, you're ready to rock and roll, okay? So that's really important. When I started traveling yesterday, I came here, I started kind of feeling a little bit run down. And if I needed to, I've got soup packets that'll last me a week. I can lay low for a week. I've got my water, I've got my fruit, I've got everything I need. So try to plan in case you would get sick, and that way it will be not a disaster, okay? So another thing I find it's very important to consider when out walking about is a lot of the animals here are stressed out, especially the dogs, because when COVID hit, a lot of people aren't throwing their scraps outside. A lot of people aren't visiting areas that normally would be there, feeding these dogs and helping out. So a lot of the animals are under a lot of stress. And I hadn't really thought about it until 2 large dogs basically lunged at me trying to attack me. And this was 2 days before I came here to Valor. And I was minding my own business. I was down at the coast and I'm walking back, and I just turned this corner. I was behind this girl, and off to my left was this guy. And I don't know if these were his dogs. I'm assuming they were, but they just bolted at me, just barking, really angry, very aggressive. And they come at me really fast. And I just froze. I didn't know what to do right at that instant. And the second I tried to turn to the side and to go away, they would come closer. And I thought, oh boy. And I just instinctively thought, take your backpack off and put it between you and the dog. So I took my backpack and I held it low down by my feet. And sure enough, the most aggressive dog comes out and he takes a bite at the backpack. And then right then and there, the guy grabs the dog by the nape of the neck. And he's like, go away. For the English that he knew, he says, go away. He wanted me to go away as fast as I could. So I turned slowly and I started to go away. And the second dog was coming at me. And I thought, how do I get away from this? And then I got angry. I started just, get out of here, yelling and waving my arm. And then I reached down. I saw some rocks that were about this big. And I reached down. I was going to grab a rock. And the dog kind of gave me a look like that. And I thought, okay, I've got a chance. As long as it made him nervous, I got a chance. So at that time, I basically kind of turned a little bit more to the side and just kind of slowly kept creeping back. And then I got a little faster and a little faster. And the dog luckily didn't chase me. And I went around a corner and I was safe. But my gosh, that could have ended bad. It really scared me when he took a bite out of that backpack. And these were good-sized dogs. And I thought, what do I do next time to avoid that? Now, one thing I'm thinking is maybe my umbrella sticking out of my backpack is what made him angry. See how it's sticking up like that? I'm thinking maybe that is what angered them. I started putting my umbrella into my backpack because it was raining all last week. And the few days that I had it in here, I had some other dogs that were kind of growling at me. And I didn't know why, because I hadn't done anything different. I'm wearing the same color clothes, the same hat, same jacket. And so the only thing I can attribute to the extra aggression was maybe this was sticking out. Or it just happened to be the wrong place at the wrong time. So in any event, if you plan on walking in a strange area, always wear a backpack. I don't know what else you could keep between you and the dogs or to use that would be readily available. But the backpack saved my butt. All right, so this next tip is a real quick tip. Now, I always request Wi-Fi and a washing machine. That way I can wash my clothes at the time I want to wash them, and I can be ready to have clean clothes. So what I found is that electricity is very expensive in Europe and in the Philippines. And here, they don't have dryers. So if you're gonna wash your clothes, what's gonna happen is once they're extracted, you need to have these clothes dry. And it's so cold and damp enough that plan for 2 to 3 days before your clothes are dry, unless it's really windy and the humidity is low. I've been surprised that it's taken oftentimes 3 days. So if you need clothes right away, do your wash ahead of time, okay? That's really important. Now, some places will have a line strung up, and you can also buy some cording at the hardware store and string up a line in your apartment. If not, you can hang your clothes up over the chairs, the doors, on the door handle. Anything that will hold an item is what I've had to do in the past before. So if you're traveling, you want nice clean clothes. You feel good, you feel happy, you feel energized when you have some clean clothes and you feel clean and you're ready to travel, okay? So that's important. All right, so the last tip is about hauling things around. So when you're traveling, you don't have a car and a place to stick all your things in. So carrying a backpack and the size of the backpack that you choose is gonna be very, very important. Now, the backpack that I brought, I wish was bigger. Now, when I go grocery shopping, I'm not a huge fan of shopping. So when I shop, I like to get as many things as I can, bring them home, and then not have to shop for a while. And maybe you're like me. So this is the size of my backpack. And I can fit, a small size bag of groceries on the inside of this thing. And that's about it. Now, I could tie up a couple bags to the sides. There's some little hooks on the back here, which would work. So imagine you're at the grocery store. You've got your backpack on, you probably need to hold a thing of groceries in the other hand, and then you need to carry water because you just got to your new place. You don't have any water, so you need to carry extra water. I do not recommend drinking any of the tap water in these places because oftentimes the water will go into a storage holding tank, which probably isn't clean enough to drink out of, and that water will service the whole apartment that you're in, okay? So this is how I bought my water. So I bought it in these, I think they're 2-liter bottles. So for me, of course, I ended up getting my water from a faraway source farther than I needed to go, which I didn't know. But that's the thing. When you get to a new area, you're learning the area, you're learning the terrain, you have to figure out where things are, and you're not gonna know that instinctively. And until you've been there a few days, you're gonna end up needing to bring things back and not know where to get them. So plan on having extra storage, carrying some water from somewhere, and having a big enough backpack to carry as much stuff as you desire unless you plan to shop a lot, okay?
Hey, Vern.